Welcome to our sarcastic guide on why everyone seems to be hating on China these days. Buckle up, because we're diving into the deep end of global grievances. Look, China's got a lot going on. It's like that friend who went from 0 to 100 real quick, leaving everyone else wondering, wait, weren't we just sharing a pizza and talking about our favorite Pokemon? Over the next few minutes, we'll unpack the laundry list of complaints the world has with China, from human rights to economic practices, all with a healthy dose of sarcasm, because, honestly, what else can we do? Let's get into it. First up, human rights. Because nothing says we care like treating ethnic minorities like they're in a dystopian novel. From the Uyghurs in Xinjiang to the Tibetans, China's record on human rights is about as pretty as a dumpster fire on a hot summer day. We're talking forced labor, mass surveillance, and cultural suppression, all wrapped up in a neat little package labeled stability. Next, political repression. The Chinese Communist Party is basically the world's strictest hall monitor, but with more censorship and fewer bathroom passes. Want to criticize the government? Good luck finding a platform that hasn't been scrubbed cleaner than a hospital operating room. Freedom of speech in China is about as common as a unicorn riding a Segway through Tiananmen Square. It's not a good look, folks. Then there's economic practices. Who knew that sharing is caring could be so one-sided? China's been accused of intellectual property theft, currency manipulation, and unfair trade practices that would make even the most seasoned Wall Street tycoon blush. It's like they took the concept of a free market and decided to make it a free-for-all market, with China conveniently setting all the rules. Chapter 4. Military expansion, bigger, bolder, South China Seaing. Military expansion. Because why settle for a backyard when you can have the whole neighborhood? China's been flexing its military muscles in the South China Sea, building artificial islands and claiming territory like they're playing a real-life game of Risk. It's enough to make you wonder if they're planning a beach vacation or a global takeover. Spoiler alert, it's probably both. Chapter 5. COVID-19. The pandemic that just won't quit. Talking about you, China. The COVID-19 pandemic. The gift that keeps on giving, to conspiracy theorists everywhere. While we may never know the exact origins of the virus, China's initial handling of the outbreak left many questioning their transparency and accountability. It's like they were trying to put out a fire with a bucket full of gasoline, while simultaneously denying the fire even existed. Chapter 6. Environmental impact. China's carbon footprint is bigger than its landmass. Environmental impact. China's industrialization is like a bad roommate who never cleans up after themselves. From air pollution that would make a coal miner cough to rivers so polluted they could double as toxic waste dumps, China's environmental track record is about as green as a Martian landscape. Hey, at least they're leading the world in renewable energy, right? It's something, I guess. Chapter 7. Cultural differences. Lost in translation, found in misunderstanding. Cultural differences. Because sometimes, lost in translation is more like lost in a maze of misunderstandings. From differing views on human rights to contrasting approaches to diplomacy, the cultural gap between China and the West can sometimes feel wider than the Grand Canyon. It's like trying to explain the concept of sarcasm to someone who's never experienced the joy of dry wit. Chapter 8. Propaganda and misinformation. It's like a game of telephone, but way less fun. Propaganda and misinformation. It's like a game of telephone, but with more state control and fewer giggles. China's government is a master at shaping the narrative, both domestically and internationally. From state-run media outlets to armies of online trolls, they've got the propaganda game down to a science. It's all fun and games until you realize you're living in a real-life Truman Show. Chapter 9. Geopolitical rivalry, the world's most awkward dinner party. Geopolitical rivalry. Think of it as the world's most intense game of Risk, but with real consequences. China's rise as a global power has put it on a collision course with the United States, and the resulting geopolitical tensions are enough to make even the most seasoned diplomats sweat. It's like watching a slow-motion train wreck, except the train is the global economy, and the wreckage is our collective future. Chapter 10. Historical grievances. Because holding a grudge is timeless. And finally, historical grievances. Because who doesn't love holding a grudge for a few centuries? From the Opium Wars to the Japanese occupation, China has a long memory when it comes to historical wrongs. And they're not afraid to remind the world about it either. It's like that friend who brings up that time you accidentally spilled grape juice on their carpet in the 3rd grade. Let it go, man. In conclusion, everyone still hates China, Just kidding, sort of. So there you have it, folks. A sarcastic tour of why China is the global punching bag. Remember, it's all fun and games until someone starts a trade war. Look, China is a complex country with a long and complicated history. It's easy to point fingers and make sarcastic jokes, but the truth is, there are no easy answers when it comes to global politics. But hey, at least we can all agree on one thing. We're all just trying to navigate this crazy world together. See you next time.